Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearances of the Week. This is Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. We'll be giving you all the first appearances in your comic shops today. Now this week we have a pretty strong video for you guys. I think we have 6 first appearances, 7 honorable mentions, so 13 titles in all to go through. Definitely some books in here you want to pick up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearances of the week ending September 23rd, 2022. First up from DC Comics, Batman Superman World's Finest number 7. This features the first appearance and origin of Boy Thunder, Superman's earliest unknown sidekick. Now, the Batman Superman World's Finest title series is one of the secondary title series for DC Comics. It's not one of their tentpole series, such as Action Comics, Detective Comics, or either the Batman or Superman standalone titles. And the fact that they're introducing a character into the secondary title series may not be that big of a deal. It all really depends on what DC does with this particular character. Of course, the character is being introduced into a Batman-Superman team-up title. That means the character can go into either the Batman or Superman franchise. So that gives it a little bit more potential going forward, but like I said, it really depends on what DC does with this character, Boy Thunder. If they bring this across either the Batman or Superman standalone titles, or introduce this character into a small screen or big screen project, it'll definitely be more important. Otherwise, this one here may not go anywhere. Now this is one that you may want to pick up for a speculative bet, but we do think you have some time on this one. So put this one here on your B-list for now and take a look at it later on. Next up from DC Comics, DC vs. Vampires All-Out War number 3. This features the first appearance of Baron Cinder. Like we just mentioned a moment ago, it really depends on what DC does with these characters that they're introducing into secondary title series. We really don't know all that much about this particular character, how important this particular character will be going forward. This is being introduced into the DC vs. Vampires title series. This doesn't have any direct connection to any of the strong franchises. So this one here, definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up. Once again, we do think you have some time on this one. Put this one here on your B-list for now and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Avengers Forever number 9. This features the first team appearance of the Multiversal Carol Corps. Now, we really don't know how important the Multiversal Carol Corps is going to be going forward. We typically say pick up any first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles. Marvel, Disney still churning out a ton of media, whether small screen or big screen projects. And this is the first team appearance of this new Multiversal Carol Corps. But like I said, it really depends on what Marvel does. They're going to have to do something spectacular with this particular team to make this important going forward. Now, Marvel does have a history of taking these small teams or these little unknown teams and making a big deal out of them. So this one here may be a good speculative bet if you choose to pick it up. Grab this one here if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Legion of X number 5. This features a possible first full appearance of Vox Ignis, aka Voice of Fire. This is a Ghost Rider Banshee hybrid. Now, like we just mentioned a moment ago, always a good idea to pick up first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles. This one here, though, is a possible first full appearance. These books hit the comic shops later on today, so this is one we definitely want to get a little bit more information on before we pick it up for our collection. Now, if this is indeed the first full appearance of this new character, this is one you probably want to pick up for your collection. If it is not, this one here may not have any value going forward. So definitely do a little bit more research on this before you pick it up. Like I said, if it is the first full appearance, go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. Next up from Marvel Comics, Star Wars Darth Vader number 27 key variant. This features the first cover appearance of Darth Vane in Marvel Star Wars canon and a new character design. This character has not appeared in story as of yet. Now, we typically don't recommend variant covers because there are just so many variants for every particular title that Marvel releases. Seems like they do a handful of variants for every one of them. There's a lot of story variants out there. The fact that this features the first appearance of Darth Bane that the public will see, the character has not appeared in the stories yet. This one here is one we do think you should definitely pick up and add to your collection. Like we always say, these Star Wars titles, especially these Marvel Star Wars titles, if they feature new characters or first appearance of new characters, these are ones you definitely want to pick up and add to your collection. Marvel, Disney is still churning out a ton of Star Wars material. This seems like there's a new streaming series almost every other month. So this one here is definitely one you want to pick up. The first cover appearance of Darth Bane. Grab this one here for your collection. And finally from Marvel Comics, Edge of Spider-Verse number 4. This features the first appearance of Spintress, a brand new spider princess who sings and talks to spiders. It also features the first full appearance of Sun Spider, a disabled hero. Also in this issue, the Spider-Mobile's name is revealed. Now, like we always say, Anytime there's a new character in a Spider-Man title, these are ones you definitely want to pick up and add to your collection. These are, of course, alternate reality Spider characters that they're introducing, but Spider-Man is one of Marvel's strongest, most heavily collected franchises. Anytime there's a new character, you definitely want to pick them up. Marvel, Disney is still going to churn out a ton of Spider-Man material in the future. You never know when any of these characters may end up on the big screen or small screen. That is going to be a huge driver. Everybody's going to race back and try to grab these in the comics. So this is one we do think you should definitely pick up for your collection. And now for the honorable mentions. From Oni Comics, Action Journalism #1. A reporter attempts to infiltrate an invading alien fleet to uncover their secrets, land the interview of the century, and avert interstellar warfare. Now, like we always say with these small press and indie publishers, if they get picked up an option for a small screen or big screen project, that is a huge driver for these particular titles. Everybody's going to race back and try to grab the first appearance in the comics. That being said, though, Oni Comics hasn't really had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past. Of course, that's not a driver for future performance. So this one here is definitely going to be a speculative bet if you choose to pick it up, but it sounds like it can lend itself very well to a small screen, big screen project. So this one here, in our opinion, may be worth picking up. Go ahead and grab this one here if you can. If you can't, put it in your B list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Scout Comics, Ozza the Barb #1. Marked with a bad omen, Ozza was banished to a life of solitude to guard an ancient evil, but upon its escape, she'll have to decide between saving her enemies or allowing her home to perish. Now, like we just mentioned a moment ago, with these small press and indie publishers, if they get picked up an option for a small screen and big screen project, that's a huge driver for these titles. And Scout Comics has had a lot of their titles optioned in the past for TV shows, streaming series, and feature films, so this one here is definitely going to be a spec bet if you choose to pick it up, but it may be worth doing so. Like we just mentioned a moment ago, Scout Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up, and this may be the next one. Go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. If you can't, though, put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from IDW, Crashing #1. A medical specialist who focuses on patients with superpowers is at a crossroads between saving the city's greatest hero and worst villain. Now, this one here does sound like it lends itself very well to a streaming series, TV show, or feature film, and IDW has had a lot of their titles picked up in the past as well. So this one here, definitely going to be a speculative bet if you choose to pick it up, but it may be worth doing so for the cover price. You don't want to end up paying more for these later on. So this one here, as a spec bet, go ahead and grab it for your collection. If you can't, though, put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Scout Comics, Eternus #1. This is a story concept by Andy Serkis. After the death of Zeus, his son Heracles must sober up to defend the lone witness of his father's death and bring him to justice. Like we mentioned a moment ago, Scout Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past for small screen and big screen projects, but this one here may not be as mainstream for Scout Comics, and it might not be as easily optioned. So this one here is definitely going to be more of a speculative bet than a couple of the other ones we just mentioned, so you may have a little bit of time on this one. If you can't grab them all, put this one here on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Boom Comics, Stuff of Nightmares #1. This is a 4-issue limited series written by R.L. Stine that reimagines the classic tale of the Reanimator. Now, the Reanimator, fan favorite character, very popular character, very collected, and Boom Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past for small screen and big screen projects. So if this one here is picked up and they do something on the small screen and big screen with Reanimator, this new reimagined Reanimator, this one here is going to be huge, it's going to blow up, and you'll have it at the cover price. Now, this is one we do think you should pick up for your collection due to the popularity of Reanimator. Go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. If you can't, put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on it. Next up from Image Comics, Vanish #1. A man who achieved mythical hero status as a boy is now besieged by paranoia-inducing nightmares that have wrecked his life, but the arrival of a superhero team called the Prestige may prove his fears are justified. Now, this one here sounds like it lends itself very well to a TV show, streaming series, or feature film, and Image Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up in the past. This one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up, but like I said, it sounds like it can lend itself very well to one of those projects, so in our opinion, it might be worth specking on. Grab this one here if you can as a spec bet. If you can't, put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. And finally from DC Comics, Action Comics #1 Facsimile Edition. Now, this is a complete 100% reproduction of the Action Comics #1. It has the original art, the original story, and all the original advertisements as well. If you guys aren't familiar with these facsimile editions, DC Comics and Marvel Comics have been putting them out over the past few years. And, these are highly collected. They do sell out. People love these books. Like I said, it's just like going back in time and picking this book off the shelf. So this one here is definitely one we do think you should pick up for your collection. When these things get graded 9.8, 9.9, or 10, these go for big money in the secondary market. So this is one you definitely want to add to your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. So there you have the 13 titles that we have for you guys this week. Definitely some books in there you want to pick up for your collection. Please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.